They say love is blind. But what happens when love becomes a carefully orchestrated performance? When every smile, every touch, every whispered, I love you is nothing more than a rehearsed line in a script you never agreed to read. This is the story of Madison Rivers and Ethan Cross, two souls whose paths collided in the most unexpected way, setting off a chain of events that would test the boundaries between truth and deception, between what we show the world and what we hide in the shadows of our hearts. In the glittering city of San Francisco, where fog rolls through streets like secrets and the Golden Gate Bridge stands as a testament to connections that seem impossible, Madison thought she had finally found her happily ever after. But sometimes, the person who seems too good to be true is exactly that. And sometimes, the greatest love stories begin with the most elaborate lies. What follows is a tale of passion and manipulation, of tender moments and dark revelations, of a love so consuming it threatens to destroy everything in its path. It's a story that will make you question, can love born from deception ever become real? And more importantly, should it? Welcome to a world where nothing is as it seems, and the only thing more dangerous than falling in love is falling for the wrong person. The collision. The coffee shop on Market Street was Madison Rivers' sanctuary. Every Tuesday and Thursday morning at exactly 7:15 a.m., she would walk through those glass doors, order her usual vanilla latte with an extra shot, and settle into the corner booth by the window. It was her ritual, her moment of peace before the chaos of her job as a pediatric nurse consumed her day. This particular Thursday morning in October started like any other. The autumn fog hadn't quite lifted, casting the city in its familiar gray embrace. Madison pushed open the door, the little bell chiming overhead, and breathed in the comforting aroma of freshly ground coffee beans. She didn't notice him at first. Ethan Cross stood at the counter, his dark hair slightly disheveled, wearing a navy peacoat that looked expensive but worn in, like he'd owned it for years. He was tall, easily 6'2", with the kind of lean build that suggested he ran or climbed or did something that kept him perpetually in motion. But it was his eyes that would later haunt Madison's dreams. A startling shade of green that seemed to change with the light, windows to something both vulnerable and guarded at the same time. Their collision was entirely Madison's fault. She was scrolling through her phone, checking the hospital's staff messages, when she walked straight into him as he turned from the counter with two steaming cups of coffee in his hands. The impact sent both cups flying. Hot coffee splashed across his coat, her scrubs, and the pristine white floor. Oh my God, I'm so sorry, Madison gasped, her phone clattering to the ground. For a moment, Ethan just stood there, arms still extended where the cups had been, coffee dripping from his fingers. Then he laughed, a deep, genuine sound that transformed his entire face. Well, he said, looking down at the disaster zone around them. That's one way to start a morning. I wasn't looking. I was on my phone. I'm such an idiot. Madison was already pulling napkins from the dispenser, trying to blot at his coat. Hey, it's okay. He gently caught her wrist, stopping her frantic dabbing. His touch was warm, despite the coffee. It's just coffee. And honestly, this coat has survived worse. The barista rushed over with a mop, apologizing profusely. Madison bent to retrieve her phone, grateful it had somehow survived the crash. And when she straightened up, Ethan was watching her with an expression she couldn't quite read. I should buy you a new coffee, Madison said. 2 new coffees. And probably pay for dry cleaning, or how about you just let me buy you a coffee instead? Ethan interrupted, that half smile still playing on his lips. Madison blinked. What? No, I'm the one who. Consider it compensation for the excitement you just added to my otherwise boring morning. He was already heading back to the counter. I'm Ethan, by the way. And you are? Madison. And you really don't have to. Madison, he repeated, like he was testing how her name felt in his mouth. What's your usual order? She told him, bewildered by this turn of events. And 10 minutes later, they were sitting across from each other in her usual corner booth. The coffee disaster cleaned up, both of them with fresh drinks. So, Ethan said, wrapping his hands around his cup. Do you make a habit of assault by collision, or am I just special? Madison felt herself blush. This is actually my spot. I come here every Tuesday and Thursday. I've never run into anyone before, literally or figuratively. Your spot, huh? I just moved to the neighborhood last week. I guess I'll have to start checking for incoming pedestrians when I order my coffee. You should. I'm a menace. She smiled, surprising herself. She wasn't usually this comfortable with strangers. They talked for 45 minutes, and Madison was late to her shift for the first time in 3 years. Ethan was an architect, he told her, recently transferred from the Boston office of his firm to oversee a new project in San Francisco. a sustainable housing development in the Mission District. He'd grown up in Seattle, loved hiking, had a complicated relationship with his family, and thought San Francisco made the best sourdough bread in the country. I should go, Madison finally said, glancing at her watch with genuine regret. I'm already late, and my supervisor is going to kill me. Pediatric nurse, right? You mentioned that. You were listening. She smiled. Of course I was listening. His green eyes held hers. So, Madison, the pediatric nurse who assaults innocent architects with coffee. Would you maybe want to do this again? Minus the coffee bath. Her heart did a little flip. Are you asking me out? I'm asking you to have coffee with me. Or dinner. Or a walk across the Golden Gate Bridge at sunset. Whatever you'd like. Madison knew she should be cautious. She'd been single for 2 years after her last relationship had imploded spectacularly. She'd promised herself she'd be careful, take things slow, not fall too fast. But there was something about Ethan Cross that made her want to throw caution to the wind. Dinner, she heard herself say. Saturday night. His smile could have lit up the entire fog-shrouded city. Saturday night. Give me your number, and I'll text you the details. As Madison rushed out of the coffee shop and toward the hospital, her scrubs still slightly damp and her heart racing. She had no idea that the man sitting in her favorite booth, watching her go with an unreadable expression on his face, had just executed the first phase of a plan 6 months in the making. She had no idea that their accidental meeting had been anything but, and she had no idea that Ethan Cross wasn't even his real name. The perfect date. Saturday arrived wrapped in the kind of perfect autumn weather that made San Francisco feel magical. The fog had retreated to the ocean, leaving the city bathed in golden afternoon light that made everything seem possible. Madison stood in front of her closet, phone pressed between her ear and shoulder, while her best friend Lily interrogated her from the other end of the line. So let me get this straight, Lily said, her voice skeptical. You literally ran into this guy, covered him in coffee, and instead of being mad, he asked you out? That's essentially what happened, yes. Madison pulled out a navy dress, considered it, then shoved it back. And you said yes? Maddie, you don't even talk to guys at bars when I practically throw you at them. This was different. Madison grabbed a burgundy wrap dress. Better. He was, I don't know, easy to talk to, like I'd known him forever. Lily made a humming sound that Madison had learned over 12 years of friendship meant she was reserving judgment. Just be careful, okay? You always see the best in people. Is that a bad thing? It's a beautiful thing. It's also how you ended up with Derek. Madison winced. Derek Patterson, her ex-boyfriend, had seemed perfect too, until she discovered he'd been cheating on her for 8 months with a pharmaceutical rep who called on their hospital. The betrayal had shattered something in Madison, made her question her own judgment. This isn't like that, Madison said, more to convince herself than Lily. I'm being smart. It's just dinner. Uh-huh. Just dinner with a tall, handsome architect who sounds too good to be true. Where's he taking you? Some place called Water Bar. He said he'd pick me up at 7. Lily whistled. Fancy. Okay. You have my approval to be cautiously optimistic, but text me by 9 p.m. or I'm calling the cops. You're ridiculous. I'm protective. There's a difference. Now go make yourself gorgeous and send me a picture of the outfit. Ethan arrived at exactly 7 o'clock, holding a single white rose. He wore charcoal slacks and a crisp white button-down with the sleeves rolled to his elbows, managing to look both polished and relaxed. When Madison opened the door, his eyes widened slightly. You look incredible, he said, and the sincerity in his voice made her stomach flutter. You clean up pretty well yourself. For someone who's been assaulted by coffee, I mean. He laughed. I heal fast. Shall we? Water Bar sat right on the Embarcadero with floor-to-ceiling windows offering views of the Bay Bridge. Their table overlooked the water, where the last rays of sunlight painted everything gold and amber. It was, Madison thought, almost aggressively romantic. So, Ethan said after they'd ordered wine, tell me something about yourself that I wouldn't learn from a normal first date conversation. Madison tilted her head. That's an interesting question. I'm an interesting guy. He grinned. Come on. Something real. Not your job or where you grew up. Something that matters to you. She considered this, swirling the wine in her glass. Okay. When I was 8, my little brother got really sick, meningitis. We almost lost him. I spent 3 weeks living at the hospital with my parents, watching the nurses take care of him, and I just knew. That's what I wanted to do. Save kids the way they saved Tommy. Ethan's expression softened. Is your brother okay now? He's a marine biologist in San Diego. completely healthy, completely brilliant, and completely annoying. She smiled. Your turn. Something real. He was quiet for a moment, and something flickered across his face, something almost like pain. I've spent most of my life trying to prove I'm nothing like my father. He was successful, charismatic. Everyone loved him. He was also a serial cheater who destroyed our family. So now I overcompensate by being almost pathologically honest and loyal. The vulnerability in his admission made Madison's heart ache. That must have been hard. Watching your family fall apart. It was. But it taught me what kind of man I didn't want to be. He reached across the table, his fingers brushing hers. Sorry, that got heavy fast. No, I asked for real. Real isn't always light. They talked through 3 courses. Ethan wanted to know everything, her favorite childhood memory, camping in Yosemite with her family, her biggest fear, becoming jaded and losing her compassion, her secret talent. She could solve a Rubik's Cube in under 2 minutes. He told her about his work, his love of sketching buildings on napkins, his dream of designing affordable housing that didn't sacrifice beauty. Most people think sustainable architecture has to be ugly, he said, pulling out a pen and sketching on his napkin. But look, he drew quick, confident lines. You can have clean energy, green materials, affordability, A&D make something beautiful. Madison washed his hands as he drew, fascinated by the way he could create something from nothing with just a few strokes. You really love what you do. I do. But lately, he paused, setting down the pen. I've been wondering if love is enough, if I'm making a real difference or just making rich developers richer. The project you mentioned, the Mission District housing, that's making a difference, isn't it? Maybe. If we can actually pull it off. He looked up at her. Sorry, I don't usually talk about work this much. You're easy to talk to. Lily said the same thing about you, Madison said without thinking. Lily? My best friend. She's very protective. She made me promise to text her by 9 or she'd call the police. Ethan checked his watch dramatically. It's 8:47. Should I be worried about a SWAT team bursting in? Madison laughed and pulled out her phone, typing quickly. He's perfect. Stop worrying. We'll call tomorrow. Lily's response was immediate. Use protection. Madison's cheeks flushed as she shoved her phone back in her purse. Good news, I hope? Ethan asked, clearly amused. She approves. And she's inappropriate. I like her already. After dinner, they walked along the Embarcadero, the city lights reflecting off the water. The fog was starting to roll back in, wrapping around them like a cocoon. Thank you for tonight, Madison said as they slowly made their way back to where Ethan had parked. I had a really great time. We should do it again. He stopped walking, turning to face her. Soon. How soon? Is tomorrow too soon? He stepped closer, his hand coming up to gently brush a strand of hair from her face. I know that sounds crazy. We just met, but I really like you, Madison. Her breath caught. I really like you too. Good. He smiled, and then he was kissing her, soft and sweet and perfect. And Madison felt herself melting into him, her hands fisting in his shirt to pull him closer. When they finally broke apart, both slightly breathless, Ethan rested his forehead against hers. Tomorrow? He whispered. Tomorrow, she agreed. What Madison couldn't see, was the way Ethan's expression changed the moment she turned away. The way his smile faltered, replaced by something complicated and dark. The way he pulled out his phone and typed a quick message. Phase 1 complete. She's hooked. What she didn't know was that every word he'd said tonight had been carefully chosen. Every story, every vulnerable admission, every seemingly spontaneous gesture, all of it planned, rehearsed, perfected. What she didn't know was that Ethan Cross had been studying her for 3 months before he'd ever accidentally met her in that coffee shop. And what she definitely didn't know was why. Falling fast. The next 3 months blurred together like a perfect dream Madison never wanted to wake up from. Ethan was everything she'd ever wanted and some things she hadn't known she needed. He showed up at the hospital with coffee when she worked double shifts. He remembered that she was allergic to shellfish and always checked ingredients at restaurants. He listened, really listened, when she talked about her difficult days, the patients she couldn't save, the bureaucratic nightmares of the healthcare system. Dr. Martinez was such a jerk today. Madison vented one evening, curled up on Ethan's couch in his minimalist apartment in Soma. This kid Tommy, not my brother, different Tommy. He's 7 and terrified of needles, and Martinez just wanted to strap him down and get it over with. No compassion, no patience. Ethan's fingers traced lazy patterns on her shoulder. What did you do? I took over. Spent 20 minutes talking to Tommy about his favorite video game. let him hold my hand, told him a story about a brave knight. He barely felt the needle. See, that's why you're amazing at your job. He kissed the top of her head. You see people, not just patients. These moments, quiet, domestic, real, were becoming Madison's favorite. But Ethan also surprised her with adventure. Weekend trips to Napa Valley, a midnight picnic on Baker Beach, salsa dancing lessons that left them both laughing and breathless. Lily met him 6 weeks in, cornering Madison afterward with an inquisition. Okay, I'm trying to find the red flags, Lily said over brunch, and I'm coming up empty. He's hot, successful, treats you like a queen, and he made me laugh 3 times in one conversation. What's wrong with him? Maybe nothing's wrong with him, Madison said, unable to keep the smile off her face. Nobody is that perfect, Maddie. He's not perfect. He has flaws. But even as she said it, Madison struggled to name them. He was sometimes distant, getting lost in his own head. He rarely talked about his friends, said he'd lost touch with most of them after his last relationship ended badly. His family was a sore subject. He'd mentioned his sister once, but changed the topic quickly. I'm happy for you, Lily finally said. I really am. Just don't lose yourself, okay? Remember what happened with Derek. This is nothing like Derek, Madison insisted, and she believed it. On their 3-month anniversary, Ethan surprised her with a weekend trip to a cabin in Tahoe. It was November, and the first snow had just fallen, blanketing everything in pristine white. This is incredible, Madison breathed, standing on the cabin's deck, watching snowflakes drift down through the pine trees. Ethan came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist, his chin resting on her shoulder. I wanted to get you away from the city, have you all to myself. They spent the weekend in a haze of intimacy, making love by the fireplace, cooking together in the tiny kitchen, talking until dawn about everything and nothing. It was here, watching the sunrise paint the snow-covered mountains pink and gold, that Madison realized she'd fallen completely, irrevocably in love with Ethan Cross. I love you, she whispered, not sure if he was still awake. His arms tightened around her. Say that again. She turned to face him, brave in the morning light. I love you, Ethan. Something flickered in his eyes, that same complicated expression she'd seen before, but could never quite interpret. Then he kissed her, deep and desperate, like he was trying to communicate something he couldn't put into words. I love you too, Madison Rivers, he said against her lips. God help me, I really do. The words should have made her happy. They did make her happy. But there was something in his tone, something almost like regret, that she couldn't quite shake. Back in the city, life settled into a comfortable rhythm. Madison spent most nights at Ethan's apartment. He had a key to hers. They talked about moving in together officially, maybe finding a place that was theirs instead of his or hers. What about the Richmond district? Madison suggested one Sunday morning, scrolling through apartment listings on her tablet. It's close to the hospital for me, and the commute to your project site isn't terrible. Ethan looked up from his sketchbook. The Richmond? Yeah. Look at this one, 2 bedrooms, hardwood floors, a little balcony. It's perfect. He set down his pencil, his expression carefully neutral. That's kind of a big step. We've been together for almost 4 months. We practically live together anyway. I know, He ran a hand through his hair. Can we table this conversation? Work is insane right now with the mission project. The developers are fighting us on every sustainable feature. The city's dragging its feet on permits. I can't think about moving too. It was the first real resistance Madison had encountered from him, and it stung. Okay, sure, we can talk about it later. But later never came. Every time Madison brought it up, Ethan deflected. And slowly, she started noticing other things too. His phone was always face down. He never left it unattended. Once, when it rang while he was in the shower, Madison had glanced at the screen and seen a name. J. Rivers. Her last name. Before she could think too much about it, Ethan had emerged, dripping wet, and grabbed the phone, letting it go to voicemail. Wrong number, he'd said. But he wouldn't meet her eyes. He sometimes flinched when she mentioned introducing him to her family. Her brother was visiting for Thanksgiving, and Madison had assumed Ethan would join them. I don't think that's a good idea, Ethan said. Why not? You've met Lily. Meeting my family is the next logical step. Your family is important to you. I don't want to complicate things. How would you complicate things? Madison, please. Just drop it. The plea in his voice made her back off. But worry not at her. Was he ashamed of her? Having second thoughts? Seeing someone else? No. She refused to go down that paranoid path. This was her trauma from Derek talking, not reality. Ethan wasn't Derek. He'd shown her nothing but love and devotion. But the niggling doubts wouldn't entirely disappear. It all came to a head on a rainy Tuesday in early December. Madison had left work early, feeling sick with what she thought was the flu. She used her key to let herself into Ethan's apartment, planning to curl up in his bed until he got home. She was halfway to the bedroom when she heard his voice. He was home, and he was on the phone. I know, he was saying, his voice tight with stress. I'm doing my best here. It's more complicated than I thought it would be. Madison froze in the hallway. Because I didn't expect to actually. He broke off. Look, I know what the endgame is. I'm not backing out. But she's not what you said she'd be. She's. A long pause. Fine. Yes. I'll get what you need. Just give me a little more time. Madison's blood ran cold. She backed toward the door as quietly as she could, her heart hammering. But she wasn't quiet enough. Madison? Ethan emerged from the bedroom, phone in hand, his face pale. I didn't hear you come in. Who were you talking to? Her voice sounded surprisingly steady. Work. Just work stuff. But his eyes weren't meeting hers, and he was gripping his phone too tightly. Really? Because it sounded like you were talking about me. You misheard. Don't. She held up a hand. Don't lie to me, Ethan. I heard you say something about an endgame. What the hell is going on? He opened his mouth, closed it, and for a moment, Madison saw something like panic cross his face. Then his expression shuddered completely. It's complicated, then uncomplicated. Her voice was rising now, anger replacing shock. We've been together for 4 months. You tell me you love me. We're talking about moving in together, and you're on the phone talking about some kind of plan involving me? What am I, Ethan? A project? A game? Of course not. Then what? Tell me the truth. Right now. The silence stretched between them, heavy with all the words he wasn't saying. Madison felt her heart cracking with each passing second. Finally, Ethan spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. I can't. You can't, she repeated flatly. Not yet. Madison, please. You have to trust me. Trust you? You're literally standing there telling me you're keeping secrets about something that involves me. And you want me to trust you? If you give me 2 weeks. 2 weeks to what? Perfect whatever lie you're planning to tell me. She was backing toward the door now, tears streaming down her face. I can't believe I fell for this. Lily was right. You are too good to be true. Madison, wait. He reached for her, but she jerked away. Don't touch me. Don't call me. Don't contact me at all until you're ready to tell me the truth. She yanked open the door. All of it. Madison. But she was already running down the hallway, the sound of his voice calling her name echoing behind her like a ghost. The truth hurts. Madison didn't go home. She went straight to Lily's apartment in the Sunset District, arriving on her best friend's doorstep soaked from the rain and sobbing so hard she could barely breathe. Lily took one look at her and pulled her inside. Ice cream and homicide plans, Lily said, guiding Madison to the couch. What did the architect bastard do? Through cupping sobs, Madison told her everything. The overheard phone call, Ethan's refusal to explain, the sick feeling that their entire relationship had been built on lies. I knew it, Lily said, pacing her living room like a caged tiger. I knew he was too perfect. Nobody is that perfect. What do you think he's hiding? Secret wife? Criminal past? Is he in witness protection? I don't know. Madison pulled the blanket Lily had wrapped around her shoulders tighter. But it's something big. You should have seen his face, Lily. He looked guilty and scared. Scared of what? I don't know. Maybe scared I'd find out the truth. Lily sat down next to her, taking her hand. What are you going to do? I told him not to contact me until he was ready to tell me everything. I meant it. Good. You deserve the truth. And if he can't give you that, he doesn't deserve you. Madison's phone buzzed. A text from Ethan. Please let me explain. Please. She turned off her phone. The next few days were torture. Madison threw herself into work, taking extra shifts, volunteering for the cases no one else wanted. Anything to keep her mind occupied. But at night, alone in her apartment, the questions consumed her. Who had he been talking to? What was the end game? How much of their relationship had been real? And the worst question of all, did he actually love her? Or was that a lie too? On Friday, exactly 5 days after their fight, someone knocked on Madison's apartment door at 9 p.m. She knew without checking the peephole that it would be Ethan. She almost didn't answer. But she needed answers more than she needed pride. He looked terrible. Dark circles under his eyes, hair uncombed, wearing the same clothes she'd seen him in the day before. Like he hadn't slept, hadn't eaten, hadn't functioned since she'd left. Can I come in? he asked quietly. Madison stepped aside. They stood in her small living room, 3 feet and 1,000 miles apart. I'm going to tell you everything, Ethan said. And when I'm done, you're probably going to hate me. You should hate me. But I need you to know that some of it, the most important part, was real. Just talk. He took a deep breath. My name isn't Ethan Cross. It's Ethan Rivers. Your last name is Rivers too, which isn't a coincidence. Madison. We're related. You're my half-sister. The words didn't make sense. Madison's brain refused to process them. What? Our father, your father, James Rivers, he had an affair 28 years ago. With my mother. I'm the result. His voice was flat, mechanical, like he was reciting facts about a stranger's life. He paid my mother to keep quiet, to never contact his family. He gave her money for years. Then, when I was 15, he cut us off. No explanation. No final payment. Just gone. Madison sank onto her couch, her legs unable to hold her. That's impossible. My father would never. He did. Ethan pulled out his phone, tapped a few times, then handed it to her. These are the bank statements. Every month, like clockwork, for 15 years. Then nothing. Madison stared at the screen, seeing her father's name, seeing the amounts, seeing dates that went back before she was born. This has to be fake. It's not. I can show you my birth certificate too. Mother's name, Diane Rivers. Father's name, blank. But she told me who he was. She told me everything. If this is true, Madison's voice broke. If this is true, why are you here? What do you want from me? This was where Ethan's careful composure cracked. He sat down across from her, his hands shaking. My mother died 6 months ago. Cancer. Before she died, she made me promise something. She made me promise to make the Rivers family pay for abandoning us, for letting her struggle while they lived in their perfect house with their perfect life. Ice flooded Madison's veins. Hey, how? She wanted me to destroy you. Specifically you. He laughed. But there was no humor in it. See, she did her research over the years. She knew all about James Rivers' family. She knew you were the golden child, the perfect daughter, the one he was so proud of. She thought if I could ruin you, make you fall in love with me, then expose the truth, humiliate you, it would hurt him the way he hurt her. Madison couldn't breathe. So our entire relationship, the coffee shop, the dates, everything, was planned. Initially, he looked up at her, and there were tears in his eyes. I moved to San Francisco specifically to find you. I learned your routines. I knew where you got coffee. I knew when you'd be there. The meeting was staged. She was going to be sick. She pressed a hand to her mouth, fighting the nausea. I had it all planned out. Ethan continued, his voice breaking. 6 months of dating. Make you fall in love. Maybe get engaged. Then I'd reveal the truth at some family gathering. Humiliate you in front of everyone. Fulfill my mother's dying wish. But, Madison whispered, but you weren't what I expected. You weren't some spoiled princess. You were. You. Kind and genuine and passionate about helping people. You talked about your patients like they were your own kids. You cried during sad movies. You sang off key in the shower. You were real, Madison. And I. His voice broke completely. I fell in love with you. Actually, in love, not the act, not the plan. Real, terrifying, inconvenient love. Stop. That's why I couldn't tell you. Every day I tried to find a way to explain, a way to make it okay. But there was no way. I knew if I told you the truth, I'd lose you. But I couldn't keep lying to you either. I was trapped. Madison stood up, needing distance. Get out. Madison. G-E-T-O-U-T. She was screaming now, months of emotion exploding. You come in here and tell me you're my brother, and that you seduced me as some sick revenge plot. And you expect what? Forgiveness? Understanding? I expect nothing. I know I don't deserve. You're right. You don't deserve anything. Not my forgiveness, not my understanding, and definitely not my love. She was crying now, angry tears streaming down her face. How could you do this? How could you plan something so cruel? I was angry. My mother had just died. She spent her whole life bitter and angry because your father threw her away. And I wanted to make someone pay for that. So you made me pay? I wasn't even born when any of that happened. I know. And I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't fix this. Madison grabbed a pillow from the couch and threw it at him. Sorry doesn't undo the fact that I slept with my half-brother because you were too busy playing revenge fantasy to think about how disgusting and wrong that is. Ethan flinched like she'd slapped him. We didn't know. I didn't tell you because Because you wanted to keep manipulating me. God, I am such an idiot. Lily tried to warn me. She said you were too perfect, and she was right. You were perfect because you studied me like a science project and gave me exactly what I wanted. In the beginning, yes. But these last 2 months, Madison, that was real. My feelings for you are real. I don't care. She was pacing now, her whole body shaking. I don't care if you developed feelings. I don't care if you fell in love. You based our entire relationship on a lie. You seduced your own half-sister for revenge. There's no coming back from that. I know. Then why are you here? Why tell me now? Because you deserve the truth. And because he stood, moving toward the door. Because I needed you to know that I'm going to fix this. I'm going to tell your father everything. I'm going to take responsibility for what I did. And then I'm going to leave San Francisco and you'll never have to see me again. Wait. Madison's brain was trying to process through the emotional chaos. You're going to tell my father? Why? Because you were right. About everything. This is my fault. My sin. And I won't let you carry it. When? Tomorrow. I've already called his office, made an appointment. I'll tell him everything, the affair, my mother, what I did to you. All of it. Madison imagined her father's face when he learned about this. James Rivers was a good man, loving husband, devoted father. This would destroy him. It would destroy their whole family. And yet, didn't they deserve to know? I should be there, Madison heard herself say. No. If you're going to blow up my family, I should be there. I deserve to hear his side, to see his face, to know if you're telling the truth or if this is just another manipulation. Ethan looked like he wanted to argue, but he just nodded. 11 a.m. His office downtown. I'll be there. She walked to the door, opened it. Now get out. And Ethan. Yeah? Don't ever contact me again after tomorrow. No calls, no texts, no showing up at my work. We are done. Completely. Forever. I understand. She slammed the door behind him and slid down to the floor, finally letting herself fall apart completely. Confrontation. Madison didn't tell anyone where she was going the next morning. She called in sick to work, put on her armor, a black pantsuit she usually reserved for hospital board meetings, and took a lift to her father's office in the financial district. James Rivers was a commercial real estate attorney, successful and well-respected. His corner office had views of the bay and walls lined with photos of his family. Madison, Tommy, their mother Caroline. All smiling, all happy, all completely unaware that their perfect life was about to shatter. The receptionist looked surprised when Madison arrived. You didn't mention you were joining this meeting. Last-minute addition, Madison said, her voice steady despite the chaos in her chest. Ethan was already there, sitting in one of the leather chairs in the waiting area. He looked up when she entered, something like relief crossing his face. Madison, don't talk to me. Mr. Rivers will see you now, the receptionist announced. Madison's father looked up with a smile when they entered, but it faded when he saw their expressions. Madison, what are you doing here? Mr. Cross, I thought this was about a development project. It's not, Ethan said, standing awkwardly by the door. And my name isn't Cross. It's Rivers. Ethan Rivers. I'm your son. The color drained from James Rivers' face. He sat down heavily in his chair, one hand going to his chest. Dad? Madison moved toward him, worried. I'm fine. He looked at Ethan, really looked at him, and Madison saw recognition dawn. Oh God. Diane. You remember her. Ethan's voice was flat. Of course, I remember her. How is she? Dead. 6 months ago. James Rivers flinched. I'm sorry. I truly am. Are you? You cut us off without explanation. Left us with nothing. I sent money. For 15 years. Then nothing. Ethan stepped forward. Want to explain why? Madison looked between them, seeing her father's guilt, Ethan's anger, and felt like she was watching a play where she didn't know any of the lines. Her father was quiet for a long moment then. Your mother, Diane, she was my paralegal. We worked together for 3 years. I was young, ambitious, married with a new baby. He looked at Madison. I made a terrible mistake. Had an affair. When she got pregnant, I panicked. I paid her to keep quiet, to leave the firm, to never contact my family. I thought I was protecting you all. By abandoning your son? Madison's voice was cold. I was a coward. I know that. The money was my way of easing my guilt, but it was never enough. It could never be enough. He looked at Ethan. Why did I stop? Because Diane wanted more. She threatened to tell Caroline, to tell you kids, to ruin everything. I was terrified. So I hired a lawyer, had papers drawn up. If she ever contacted my family, she'd lose everything, the money, her rights to claim you as my son, all of it. She signed them. She took a final lump sum and agreed to disappear. She was desperate, Ethan said. She was raising a kid alone, and you held all the power. I know, and I've regretted it every day since. James looked at his hands. I told myself I was protecting my family, but really, I was protecting myself, my reputation, my comfortable life. Madison felt like she was going to vomit. You had another son. All this time, and you just. What? Pretended he didn't exist? I'm not proud of what I did, Madison. Not proud? She laughed bitterly. You had an affair. You have an illegitimate son. You paid to cover it up. And now, she looked at Ethan. Tell him. Tell him what you did. Ethan closed his eyes. I came to San Francisco 6 months ago to get revenge. My mother made me promise before she died that I'd make your family pay for abandoning us. So I found Madison, learned her routines, planned an accidental meeting, and then He opened his eyes, looking at James with something like defiance. I made her fall in love with me. We've been dating for 4 months. We slept together, multiple times, and she had no idea we were related. The silence in the office was deafening. James stood up slowly, his face cycling through shock, horror, and rage. You did what? I manipulated your daughter, seduced her, all to hurt you the way you hurt my mother. You son of a... James lunged across the desk, but Madison grabbed his arm. Dad, stop. He violated you. He manipulated you. I know what he did. Madison was crying now. Don't you think I know? James turned to her, seeing her tears, and his anger crumbled into devastation. Oh, baby girl, I'm so sorry. This is my fault. All of this is my fault. It's both your faults, Madison said. You created this situation, Dad. You had the affair. You abandoned them. You set this whole thing in motion. But Ethan, she turned to him. You chose to hurt me. You chose revenge over ethics, over basic human decency. You're both guilty. I know, Ethan said quietly. That's why I'm here. To confess. To make sure Madison doesn't have to carry this secret. And to give you this. He pulled a folder from his bag and placed it on James' desk. These are all the documents proving you're my father. Birth certificate, DNA test results, copies of the bank transfers, the agreement you made my mother sign. Everything. Why? James asked. Because Madison was right. This is my sin to bear, not hers. So I'm giving you a choice. You can acknowledge me as your son, deal with the fallout in your family, and I'll leave San Francisco quietly. Or you can pretend this never happened, and I'll go public with everything. The affair, the cover-up, what I did to Madison. All of it. That would destroy you too, James pointed out. I don't care. I deserve to be destroyed for what I did. But Madison doesn't. So what's it going to be? Madison's father looked at the folder, then at Ethan, then at Madison. What do you want me to do, sweetheart? It was the first time anyone had asked her opinion, and Madison realized she had no idea what she wanted. Tell the truth and destroy her mother? Keep the secret and let Ethan walk away? Expose everything and blow up all their lives? I want the truth, she finally said. Mom deserves to know. Tommy deserves to know. We all deserve to stop living in lies. James nodded slowly. Then that's what we'll do. I'll tell your mother tonight. We'll figure out the rest as a family. And me? Ethan asked. You stay away from Madison. Permanently. That's non-negotiable. Already agreed to that. Beyond that, James sighed. You're my son. I can't change that. And what I did to you and your mother was wrong. I'll acknowledge you. Quietly. But understand this. You hurt my daughter. You don't get to be part of this family. I don't want to be part of your family. I never did. Ethan looked at Madison one last time. I just wanted her to know the truth and to tell her I'm sorry for everything. Madison couldn't speak. She just nodded. I'll leave my number with your secretary, Ethan said to James. For legal matters, DNA confirmation, whatever you need. But Madison's right. After this, I'm done. He walked out without looking back. Madison collapsed into a chair, her whole body shaking. Her father came around the desk and pulled her into his arms, both of them crying. I'm so sorry, he kept saying. I'm so sorry. But sorry couldn't undo the damage. Sorry couldn't erase the fact that Madison had fallen in love with her half-brother. Sorry couldn't take back the intimate moments, the declarations of love, the plans for a future that had all been built on lies and manipulation. Sorry was just a word. And words Madison had learned meant absolutely nothing. Bah. The conversation with Madison's mother did not go well. Caroline Rivers sat in their living room in Pacific Heights, listening to her husband confess to an affair, a secret son, and their daughter's unwitting incestuous relationship, and something in her just broke. Madison watched her mother's face go from confusion to horror to a blank, empty expression that was somehow worse than anger. "Get out," Caroline finally said, her voice eerily calm. "Caroline, get out of this house. Now. Both of you." "Mom," Madison tried. "You knew." Caroline looked at her daughter with something Madison had never seen before: disgust. "You knew, and you brought him here to tell me. You couldn't have spared me this? You deserve to know the truth. I deserved a lot of things. A faithful husband. A daughter who didn't sleep with her own brother." Caroline stood up, trembling. "Get out. I need to be alone." James tried to approach her, but she recoiled. "Don't touch me. Don't come near me. I want a divorce. I want you out." And Madison, her voice broke. "Anytime. I can't look at you right now." Madison fled to Lily's apartment for the second time in a week, feeling like her entire life was crumbling. "Your mom will come around," Lily said, though she didn't sound convinced. "She's in shock. Once she processes everything." She looked at me like I was disgusting, like I'd done something unforgivable. "You didn't know. That doesn't matter." Madison was pacing Lily's small living room like a caged animal. "I slept with my brother, Lily. Multiple times. I told him I loved him. I was planning a future with him. And now every time my mother looks at me, she's going to see that. This isn't your fault, isn't it? I'm the one who fell for his act. I'm the one who ignored red flags because I wanted so badly to be in love." Her phone rang. Tommy. Her brother had landed in San Diego an hour ago, already updated by their father's frantic call. "Maddie?" His voice was careful. "Dad told me everything. Are you okay?" "No. But I will be. Eventually. I'm coming back up. Don't argue. I'm getting on the next flight." "Tommy, you don't have to." "Yeah, I do. You're my sister and you're hurting." "I'm coming." He arrived at midnight, showing up at Lily's door with Chinese takeout and beer and pulling Madison into a bone-crushing hug. "I am so sorry," he said into her hair. "You have nothing to be sorry for. I'm sorry this happened to you. I'm sorry Dad was an idiot. I'm sorry Mom's reacting badly. And I'm really sorry about the whole architect who's probably going to need protective custody when I find him." Despite everything, Madison laughed. "Don't. He's not worth it, but you're worth it. And he hurt you. That makes him worth at least a broken nose." They sat on Lily's floor, eating cold noodles and drinking beer. And for a few hours, Madison felt almost normal. Her little brother, always her protector, always in her corner. "Do you hate me?" she asked quietly. "Or what happened?" Tommy looked at her like she'd grown a second head. "Are you insane? Why would I hate you? I slept with our half-brother. You slept with a guy you thought was your boyfriend. You didn't know. That's on him, not you. Mom doesn't see it that way. Mom's dealing with her own trauma right now. Give her time. She'll come around." But would she? Madison wasn't so sure. The next few weeks were a special kind of hell. Madison threw herself into work, taking every shift available, volunteering for the pediatric oncology ward that most nurses avoided because it was too emotionally draining. She needed the exhaustion, needed to feel something other than shame and heartbreak. Her father moved into a hotel and started divorce proceedings. He tried to call Madison daily, but she couldn't bring herself to answer. She was angry at him for the affair, for the lies, for creating the circumstances that had led to her worst nightmare. Her mother still wasn't speaking to her. Tommy stayed for 2 weeks before his job demanded he return to San Diego, but he called every day. Lily became her lifeline, forcing her to eat, to sleep, to shower, to keep functioning when all Madison wanted to do was disappear. And Ethan kept his promise. No calls, no texts, no appearances at the hospital or her apartment. He'd vanished as completely as if he'd never existed, which should have been a relief, but somehow made everything worse. A month after the confrontation, Madison was working a night shift when a familiar name appeared on her patient list. Rivers, Ethan. Room 412. Her hands shook as she stared at the chart. It had to be a coincidence. It had to be a different Ethan Rivers. But when she went to the room to check on the patient's vitals, there he was. He'd been in a car accident. Nothing life-threatening, broken ribs, concussion, road rash. But he looked terrible, his face bruised and swollen, his usual confident posture replaced by something defeated. "Madison." His voice was hoarse. "I didn't know you'd be my nurse. I can request someone else." "That won't be necessary." I'm a professional. She busied herself checking his monitors, refusing to look at him. How's your pain level? Manageable. The doctor has you on tramadol. I can increase the dosage if you need. I don't need it. Silence fell between them, heavy with everything unsaid. How's your family? Ethan finally asked. That's none of your business. Right, of course. I've been worried about you. Madison finally looked at him, really looked at him, and saw something she wasn't expecting. Genuine anguish. Don't worry about me. You lost that right. I know, but I can't help it. He shifted, winced at the pain from his ribs. I think about you every day. Wonder if you're okay. If your mother forgave you. Stop. Madison's voice was sharp. You don't get to care about me anymore. You made your choice. I made the wrong choice. I know that now. I thought revenge would make me feel better, would honor my mother's memory. But it just made me hate myself. And losing you, his voice broke. I'd give anything to undo it, to go back and make different choices. But you can't. And even if you could, what would that change? We're still related. This was always doomed, not the relationship. I go back and never approach you at all. I'd leave you alone. Let you live your life without me destroying it. Madison felt tears burning her eyes and blinked them back furiously. She would not cry in front of him. She would not give him that satisfaction. Your vitals look good, she said, her voice professionally detached. I'll check on you in 2 hours. Madison waited, but she was already gone, fleeing to the nurse's station where she locked herself in the bathroom and finally let herself break down. Why did he still have this effect on her? Why did seeing him in pain make her want to comfort him? Why did part of her, a treacherous, stupid part, still love him despite everything? She avoided his room for the rest of her shift, assigning his care to another nurse. But when she left at dawn, she found a note tucked into her bag. Madison, I know you don't want to hear from me. I know I promised to stay away. But seeing you tonight, even for those few minutes, made me realize I can't leave things like this. I'm leaving San Francisco. Not because your father demanded it or because I'm running away, but because I can't be in the same city as you and not try to see you, talk to you, fix what I broke. I got a job in Seattle. I'm leaving next week. You'll never have to see me again. I need you to know some things before I go. One, I love you. Not the act, not the plan, not the revenge fantasy. I love the real you, your compassion, your laughter, the way you care so deeply about everyone around you. That was never fake. Two, what I did was unforgivable. I know that. I'm not asking for forgiveness or understanding. I just need you to know that my feelings were real, even if everything else was a lie. Three, you deserve happiness. You deserve someone who sees how incredible you are and doesn't destroy it with their own damage. Please don't let what I did make you afraid to love again. Or I'm sorry. I will be sorry for the rest of my life. Sorry for hurting you, for manipulating you, for taking something beautiful and poisoning it with lies. I hope someday you can forgive yourself for what happened between us. Because you have nothing to forgive. You loved someone who you thought was telling you the truth. That's not a crime. That's not shameful. That's just being human. Take care of yourself. Madison Rivers. You deserve the world. Madison read the note 3 times, then tore it into tiny pieces and threw it away. But that night, alone in her apartment, she cried harder than she had since the entire nightmare began. Not because she wanted him back, not because she forgave him, but because part of her, that stupid, treacherous part, was heartbroken that he was leaving, and hated herself for it. Healing. 6 months later, spring came to San Francisco with its usual flourish of wildflowers in Golden Gate Park and tourists flooding Fisherman's Wharf. Madison barely noticed. She was too busy rebuilding her life, piece by painful piece. Her mother had finally started speaking to her again 3 months after the revelation. Their relationship was different now, careful, fragile, like they were both afraid of saying the wrong thing. Caroline had filed for divorce, and James hadn't fought it. The house in Pacific Heights was being sold, with Madison's parents splitting everything down the middle. I'm moving to Napa, Caroline told Madison over lunch at a cafe in the marina. It was their 3rd meal together since the reconciliation, and conversations still felt stilted. I'm buying a small cottage. Fresh start. That sounds nice, Mom. Caroline studied her daughter's face. You look thin. Are you eating? I'm fine. Madison. Her mother reached across the table, taking her hand. I'm sorry for how I reacted, for blaming you. You were a victim in all this, and I made it worse. Madison felt tears sting her eyes. I thought you'd never forgive me. There was nothing to forgive. I was hurt and angry, and I lashed out at the wrong person. Your father is the one who betrayed us. That boy, Ethan, he's the one who manipulated you. You just fell in love. There's no crime in that. It feels like there should be. I know, but there isn't. Caroline squeezed her hand. Have you heard from him? No. He moved to Seattle like he said he would. Tommy did some digging. She saw her mother's expression. Don't be mad at Tommy. He was being protective. Anyway, Ethan got a job at an architecture firm up there. He's not coming back. Good. You deserve better. Do I, though? Madison pulled her hand back. I fell for his act completely. What does that say about my judgment? It says you're human. We all want to believe the best in people. That's not a flaw, sweetheart. That's what makes you good at your job. Those kids at the hospital trust you because you see the best in them. Madison wanted to believe her, but the shame still sat heavy in her chest, a constant weight she couldn't quite shake. Work continued to be her salvation. She'd been promoted to charge nurse in the pediatric ward, and the added responsibility kept her mind occupied. Her patients became her world, kids like 7-year-old Emma with leukemia, who made Madison friendship bracelets between chemo treatments, or 12-year-old Marcus with cystic fibrosis, who was determined to beat his high score on video games before his next surgery. You're good with them, Dr. Sarah Chen commented one day, watching Madison coax Emma into taking her medication by turning it into a game. They're good with me, Madison replied. They remind me what's important, which is being present, being honest, showing up. 3 things Ethan had never really done. She didn't add. Lily had been watching Madison with growing concern. 6 months after the breakup, Madison still wasn't dating, wasn't even showing interest in dating. You can't let one horrible experience ruin you for everyone else, Lily said over wine at Madison's apartment. I'm not ruined. I'm cautious. You're terrified. There's a difference. Can you blame me? No. But I also don't want to watch you close yourself off forever because of that hole. I'm not closed off. You turned down that cute paramedic who asked you out. Twice. Ryan? He's like 23. He's 27 and very interested. And you shot him down without even considering it. Madison sighed. I'm just not ready. It's been 6 months. It's been 6 months since I found out I was sleeping with my half-brother. Forgive me if I need more time to process that. Lily softened. You're right. I'm sorry. I just want you to be happy again. I'm getting there. Slowly. And she was. Some days were better than others. Some days she went hours without thinking about Ethan, without remembering the way he smiled or how safe she'd felt in his arms. Some days the shame didn't feel quite so suffocating. And then there were the bad days. The worst one came in late May, when she was called to testify in her parents' divorce proceedings. Both sides needed her statement about when she learned about the affair, how it had affected her, what she knew. Sitting in that conference room, with her father on one side and her mother on the other, rehashing the entire nightmare in front of lawyers and a court reporter, Madison felt like she was being flayed alive. And when did you learn about your relationship with Mr. Rivers? The lawyer asked. December 7th. He came to my apartment and told me everything. How did you react? I asked him to leave. Then I went to my best friend's apartment and had a breakdown. Had you had any indication before that night that something was wrong? I'd overheard a phone call. He was talking to someone about me, about some kind of plan. When I confronted him, he wouldn't explain. That's when I told him not to contact me until he could tell me the truth. And he did. Yes. How has this affected your relationship with your parents? Madison looked at her mother, then her father. It destroyed us. We're rebuilding, but it's not the same. It will never be the same. When it was finally over, Madison escaped to the parking garage and sat in her car shaking. Her father tried to follow, but she locked the doors and drove away. She ended up at Baker Beach, walking along the shore as the fog rolled in. This was where Ethan had brought her for that midnight picnic, where they'd kissed under the stars and made wishes she thought would come true. God, she was so stupid. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Madison Rivers? Yes. This is Patricia Morrison from Seattle General Hospital. I'm calling about Ethan Rivers. You're listed as his emergency contact. Madison's heart stopped. What happened? He was brought in 2 hours ago. Attempted suicide. Pills and alcohol. He's stable now, but he's asking for you. The world tilted. I don't understand. Why am I his emergency contact? I don't know, ma'am, but he's quite insistent that he needs to speak with you. He is asking if you could come to Seattle. Every rational part of Madison's brain screamed at her to say no, to hang up, to let Ethan deal with his own demons. But the part of her that had loved him might still love him, despite everything. Couldn't do it. "I'll be there tomorrow," she heard herself say. "Thank you." He's in room 814. Madison sat on that beach until the fog completely obscured the Golden Gate Bridge, trying to understand why she'd just agreed to fly to Seattle to see a man who destroyed her life. But she knew why. Because despite everything, the lies, the manipulation, the betrayal, he'd been right about one thing. His feelings had been real, and so had hers. And love, Madison was learning, didn't just disappear because it was inconvenient or inappropriate or built on a foundation of lies. Love was stubborn. Love was irrational. And love, apparently, was going to drag her to Seattle. Seattle. Madison landed at SeaTac Airport at 11 a.m. the next morning, having told no one where she was going. Not Lily. Not Tommy. Not her parents. She called in sick to work and bought a same-day ticket. And now she was sitting in a rental car in the hospital parking lot, trying to convince herself this wasn't the worst idea she'd ever had. Seattle General was bigger than her hospital in San Francisco, more modern. She found room 814 on the 8th floor psychiatric ward. Ethan was awake, staring out the window at the Seattle skyline. He looked terrible, pale, thin, with dark circles under his eyes and an IV in his arm. When he heard her footsteps, he turned, and the shock on his face was almost comical. "Madison? You came?" "The hospital called. Said you tried to kill yourself." She stood in the doorway, not entering the room. "Want to explain why?" He looked away. "You shouldn't have come." "Probably not, but here I am. So talk." Silence. Then, "I couldn't do it anymore. Couldn't keep pretending I was okay. Couldn't keep living with what I did to you. So your solution was to kill yourself? That's your idea of taking responsibility. I thought it would be easier. For everyone. Easier?" Madison felt anger flare, hot and bright. "You think me getting a call that you're dead would be easier? You think I wouldn't spend the rest of my life wondering if I could have done something, said something, been something different? You're not responsible for me. I know that, but you made yourself my responsibility when you listed me as your emergency contact, when you dragged me into your life and your mess and your revenge plot. You don't get to do that and then opt out when it gets hard." Ethan's eyes filled with tears. "I'm so tired, Madison. I'm tired of hating myself. Tired of remembering what I did. Tired of living in a world where you exist, but I can't be near you. Join the club." She finally stepped into the room, arms crossed. "You think this has been easy for me? You think I haven't spent the last 6 months wondering how I could be so stupid, so blind? You think I don't hate myself too? You have nothing to hate yourself for. Stop saying that." She was yelling now. "Stop trying to absolve me. I fell in love with you. I ignored red flags. I let myself be manipulated because I wanted so badly to believe in the fairy tale. I'm not blameless in this. You didn't know we were related." "I did. For the last 2 months, maybe. But you said you fell in love with me. That means for at least part of our relationship. You didn't know either. We were both operating on incomplete information." Ethan sat up straighter, wincing. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying." Madison took a breath. "I'm saying I've spent 6 months being angry at you. Being angry at my father. Being angry at myself. And I'm exhausted. The anger isn't helping. It's just eating me alive from the inside out. So what do we do?" "I don't know. But killing yourself isn't the answer. Neither is pretending the other doesn't exist. I can't be around you, Madison. It hurts too much." "Yeah, well, welcome to my world." She pulled a chair over to his bed and sat down. "Tell me what happened." "Why now?" He was quiet for a long moment. "I saw you." "What?" "Last month. I was in San Francisco for a conference. I told myself I wouldn't look for you, wouldn't try to see you. But I was walking down Market Street, and there you were, coming out of a restaurant with some guy. You were laughing. You looked happy. And I realized you'd moved on, that you were okay without me. And I lost it." Madison remembered that night. Ryan, the paramedic, had finally worn her down enough to agree to coffee. It had been nice. Easy. Nothing special, but nice. "That was a first date," she said quietly. "There wasn't a second one." Ethan looked at her. "Why not?" "Because he wasn't you." The admission cost her, but she forced it out. "Because I'm apparently incapable of moving on from the worst relationship of my life." It wasn't all bad. No. That's what makes it so hard. Madison felt tears building. Some of it was the best thing that ever happened to me. And I can't reconcile that with the lies. Can't figure out how to let go of the good parts while accepting that the foundation was rotten. I don't know how to help you with that. You can't. That's my journey. But Ethan, she leaned forward. You can't give up. You can't let what happened destroy you. We both have to find a way to live with this. How? Therapy. Lots of therapy. She managed a weak smile. I've been going twice a week. You should try it. I have been. Clearly, it's not working. Then find a better therapist. Try medication. Join a support group. Do whatever it takes. But don't give up. Why do you care? After everything I did, why do you care if I live or die? Madison thought about that. Really thought about it. Because despite everything, I believe you when you say you love me. And I believe that person, the real you, underneath all the lies, is worth saving. Fresh tears spilled down Ethan's cheeks. I don't deserve you. No, you probably don't. But that's not the point. The point is we're both broken. We're both trying to survive something horrible. And maybe, she took his hand, the first time she touched him in 6 months. Maybe we can help each other heal. What are you saying? I'm saying I don't know if we can ever be friends. I don't know if I can ever fully forgive you. But I also can't let you die, Ethan. I can't carry that too. He gripped her hand like a lifeline. I'm so sorry. For everything. I know. And someday, maybe I'll be able to forgive you. But today, I just need you to promise me you'll keep fighting. Keep trying. Keep living. I promise. They sat like that for a long time, hand in hand, two broken people trying to figure out how to stitch themselves back together. Eventually, a nurse came to check Ethan's vitals, and Madison stepped out. In the hallway, she called Lily. I'm in Seattle, she said without preamble. You're what? Ethan tried to kill himself. The hospital called. I'm here. Silence. Then, oh, Maddie. I know. I'm an idiot, but I couldn't just let him die. You're not an idiot. You're compassionate. It's your biggest strength and your biggest weakness. Lily sighed. Are you okay? No. But I will be. Do you need me to come get you? No. I'm flying back tonight. I just needed to make sure he was going to be okay. And is he? Madison looked through the window at Ethan, who was talking to the nurse, looking fragile and lost. I think so. Eventually. What about you? I think so. Eventually. Before she left, Madison wrote her phone number on a piece of paper and left it on Ethan's bedside table. For emergencies only, she told him. Don't make me regret this. I won't. Thank you, Madison, for coming, for caring. Don't thank me yet. I'm making you promise something in return. Anything. Get help. Real help. Stay in therapy. Take your medication if they prescribe it. And if you ever feel like doing something like this again, you call me first. Deal? Deal. She left Seattle as the sun was setting, painting Puget Sound in shades of orange and pink. On the plane home, Madison finally let herself cry for Ethan, for herself, for the relationship they'd had and lost, for all the ways love could be both beautiful and devastating. But underneath the sadness, she felt something else too. Hope. Not hope that they could fix what was broken. Not hope that they could ever be together, but hope that they could both survive this. That they could both find a way to live with what had happened and maybe someday find peace. It was a start. Moving forward. 6 more months passed. Madison threw herself into life with renewed determination. She couldn't change the past, couldn't undo what had happened, but she could control how she moved forward. She got a new therapist, Dr. Ellen Rothschild, a woman in her 60s who specialized in trauma and complicated grief. They met every week, unpacking not just the situation with Ethan, but Madison's patterns in relationships, her tendency to see the best in people sometimes at the expense of seeing reality. You have a beautiful heart, Dr. Rothschild told her during one session, but you need to learn to protect it better. Compassion doesn't mean making yourself vulnerable to anyone who seems like they need saving. But how do I do that without becoming cynical? By recognizing that you can care about someone without making them your responsibility. You can hope the best for people without sacrificing yourself for them. It was a hard lesson to learn. But slowly, Madison started to understand the difference between compassion and codependence. Her relationship with her mother continued to improve. Caroline had moved to Napa and started painting, something she'd given up when she got married. She seemed lighter now, freer, like the divorce had released her from something she didn't even know had been weighing her down. I spent 30 years trying to be the perfect wife, Caroline told Madison during one visit to the cottage. Always supporting your father's career, always maintaining appearances. I forgot who I was before I was Mrs. James Rivers. Are you happy now? Getting there. It's scary, starting over at 55, but it's also exciting. Madison understood that feeling. She was starting over too. Her father had moved to a condo in Selma and was dating his secretary. which was both predictable and disappointing. Madison saw him occasionally for awkward dinners where they talked about everything except what mattered. "Have you heard from Ethan?" he asked one night. "Why are you asking?" "Because I spoke to him last week. He wanted to know if you were okay." Madison set down her fork. "You're in contact with him?" "He's my son. I'm trying to. I don't know. Make amends, I guess. We talk once a month." "How is he?" "Better. He's seeing a therapist 3 times a week. He joined an architecture collective up in Seattle that does pro bono work for homeless shelters. He's trying to make things right." "Good for him." "He still loves you, you know." "Dad." "I'm not saying you should do anything about it. I'm just saying he's trying to become someone worthy of that love." Madison didn't know what to do with that information, so she filed it away and tried not to think about it too much. Meanwhile, she'd finally started dating again. Nothing serious, coffee dates, walks in the park, dinners that sometimes led to second dates and sometimes didn't. She was taking it slow, learning to trust herself again. There was Mark, a teacher who made her laugh but had no ambition. David, a software engineer who was brilliant but emotionally unavailable. Carlos, a firefighter who was perfect on paper, but there was no spark. "You're sabotaging yourself," Lily observed after Madison ended things with Carlos. "I'm being selective. You're comparing everyone to Ethan." "That's not." Madison stopped. "Was she?" "Okay, maybe a little. But is that so wrong? At least I know what I'm looking for now." "Which is?" "Someone honest. Someone who sees me. Someone who makes you feel the way Ethan did, before you knew the truth." Madison couldn't deny it. Ethan, for his part, kept his promise. He texted occasionally, once a month, never more. Quick check-ins. "Hope you're doing well. Saw a kid at the park who reminded me of one of your patient stories. Happy birthday." She rarely responded, but she didn't block him either. Then, in late November, almost exactly a year after their relationship had imploded, Madison got a call from Seattle General. Not the same doctor as before. This time it was Ethan himself. "I'm not dying," he said immediately. "I'm okay. I just needed to tell you something. Ethan, I'm getting married." The words hit Madison like a physical blow. "What?" "Her name is Rachel. She's a social worker. We met in group therapy. She knows everything about you, about what I did, all of it. And she still wants to marry me. That's great. Congratulations. I wanted you to hear it from me, before you saw it on social media or through your dad or something. I appreciate that." Silence. Then, "Are you okay?" "Was she?" Madison examined her feelings honestly. There was pain, yes. Jealousy, maybe. But underneath that, something surprising. Relief. "I'm okay," she said and meant it. "I'm happy for you, Ethan." "Really? Thank you." "That means a lot." He paused. "You deserve to be happy too, Madison. I hope you know that. I'm working on it." "Good." "That's good." Another pause. "I'm going to stop calling now. This was my last check-in. You deserve to move on without me in your periphery." "Ethan." "It's okay. It's time. Take care of yourself, Madison Rivers." "You too." After he hung up, Madison sat in her apartment, staring at her phone. A chapter of her life was closing. The man who'd broken her heart was moving on, healing, building a new life. And she was. Happy for him. It wasn't the ending she'd expected. There was no grand reconciliation, no forgiveness scene, no dramatic closure. Just two people who'd hurt each other, trying their best to heal and move forward separately. Maybe that was enough. Maybe that had to be enough. 1 year later, Madison stood in front of the mirror in her new apartment in Coal Valley, adjusting her navy blue dress. Tonight was the hospital's annual gala, and she'd been nominated for the Pediatric Nurse of the Year award. "You look beautiful," Lily said from the doorway. "I look nervous." "You look beautiful and nervous, but you're going to win. I have a good feeling. There are 3 other nominees. Who aren't you? You've got this." The gala was being held at the Fairmont Hotel on Nob Hill. Madison arrived with Lily, both of them laughing at the valet's shocked expression when Lily handed over the keys to her beat-up Honda Civic in a sea of BMWs and Teslas. "We're classing up the joint," Lily declared. Inside, the ballroom was elegant, crystal chandeliers, white tablecloths, champagne flowing freely. Madison found her table, where several colleagues from the hospital were already seated. "Madison," Sarah Chen stood to hug her. "You look amazing." "Nervous." "Terrified." "Don't be. You're going to win. Everyone knows it." Dinner was served, salmon and risotto that Madison barely tasted. too anxious about the upcoming announcement. The hospital CEO gave a speech about the year's accomplishments. The board chair thanked the donors. Finally, and now for our Pediatric Nurse of the Year award. Madison's heart hammered in her chest. This year's nominees demonstrated exceptional care, going above and beyond for our youngest patients. The winner showed not just medical expertise, but genuine compassion, creating a playroom fundraiser that raised over $100,000, implementing a new pain management protocol that reduced pediatric distress by 40%, and consistently receiving praise from patients and families alike. That was her playroom fundraiser, her protocol. Please join me in congratulating our Pediatric Nurse of the Year, Madison Rivers. The applause was thunderous. Lily was screaming. Sarah was hugging her. Madison stood on shaky legs and made her way to the stage, accepting the Crystal Award from the CEO. I don't have a speech prepared, she admitted into the microphone, and the audience laughed. I honestly didn't think I'd win, but I want to say, this job isn't about awards. It's about the kids. Every day, I meet the bravest people I know. Kids fighting cancer, facing surgeries, dealing with chronic illnesses. They teach me more about resilience and hope than I could ever teach them. So this award isn't for me. It's for Emma, who makes me friendship bracelets between chemo treatments. For Marcus, who's determined to beat his high score before his next surgery. For every kid who's ever trusted me to help them through their scariest moments. Thank you. More applause. Flashbulbs. Madison left the stage feeling like she was floating. The rest of the evening passed in a blur of congratulations and champagne. Madison was talking to a group of doctors when she felt someone watching her. She turned and saw a man across the room. Tall, dark hair, broad shoulders. For one heart-stopping moment, she thought it was Ethan. But as he came closer, she realized it wasn't. Just someone who shared a passing resemblance. Congratulations, the stranger said, extending his hand. That was a beautiful speech. Thank you. She shook his hand. I'm Madison. I know. I'm Alex Thornton. I'm actually a trauma therapist at California Pacific Medical Center. I work with a lot of pediatric patients who end up in your ward after they're medically stable. Oh. I've seen your name on patient files. You do amazing work. So do you. I've heard nothing but praise from the kids you've treated. They talk for 20 minutes about their work, their approaches to pediatric care, their frustrations with the healthcare system. Alex was smart, kind, passionate about his job. And when he asked for her number, Madison found herself saying yes. I'd like to take you to dinner sometime, Alex said, if you're interested. I am, Madison replied, and realized she meant it. 3 months later, Madison and Alex had settled into a comfortable rhythm of dating. He was different from Ethan in every way. Open about his life, transparent about his feelings, with no mysterious phone calls or secrets. He met her family, introduced her to his, talked about the future without flinching. I really like him, Caroline said during Sunday brunch at her cottage. He seems solid. He is. Madison agreed. He's safe. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Madison considered that. It's a good thing. After everything that happened, I need safe. But do you love him? Did she? Madison thought about Alex, his reliability, his kindness, the easy way they fit together. I care about him a lot, and I think love could grow from that. That's very pragmatic. Is that bad? No, sweetheart. It's smart. The whirlwind passion is exciting, but it's not always sustainable. Sometimes the best relationships are the ones that build slowly. Madison hoped her mother was right. Then, in early April, she got an invitation in the mail. The cream cardstock, formal script. You are cordially invited to the wedding of Rachel Morrison and Ethan Rivers Saturday, May 15th, Seattle, Washington. Madison stared at the invitation for a long time. Why had he sent this? They hadn't spoken in over a year. She'd moved on. He'd moved on. But tucked inside the invitation was a handwritten note. Madison, I know this is strange, but Rachel and I talked about it, and we both agreed you should be invited. Not because we expect you to come. I can't imagine that you would. But because you were such a significant part of my journey to becoming someone worthy of her love. What happened between us was the worst thing I've ever done. But it was also the thing that forced me to confront who I was and who I wanted to be. Rachel knows everything. She knows how I hurt you. She knows about the lies and the manipulation and the revenge plot. And somehow, she saw past all that to the person I was trying to become. You saved my life that day in Seattle. Did you know that? When you came to the hospital, when you told me I had to keep fighting, that's what gave me the strength to actually get help, to face my demons instead of running from them. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't expect closure. I just wanted you to know that I'm finally okay. And I hope you are too. All my best, Ethan. Yes. There's no pressure to respond or to come. This is just my way of saying thank you and goodbye. Madison showed the invitation to Alex that night. Your ex invited you to his wedding? Alex's eyebrows shot up. That's weird, inappropriate, completely insane. I was going to say complicated, but those work too. He studied her face. How do you feel about it? I don't know. Part of me thinks I should throw this away and never think about it again. But part of me wants closure. Maybe. Or maybe just wants to see that he's actually okay. That he's happy. That what happened to us doesn't have to define the rest of his life. Are you going to go? Madison looked at the invitation, at Ethan's careful handwriting, at the formal script announcing his new beginning. I don't know. Would it bother you if I did? Alex was quiet for a moment. Honestly, a little. But I also understand that he's part of your past. And maybe you need this to fully close that chapter. You're too understanding. It's annoying. He laughed. I'm a therapist. It's literally my job to be understanding. What would you do? If you were me, I'd ask myself what I need to heal. If going to this wedding would give me closure, I'd go. If it would just open old wounds, I politely decline. Only you can answer that. Madison thought about it for 3 days. Finally, she RSVP'd. I'll be there. Alone. Congratulations to you both. May 15th arrived too quickly. Madison flew to Seattle on Friday night, checking into a hotel near the wedding venue. She told Alex she needed to do this alone, and he'd understood even though she could tell it bothered him. The wedding was at a botanical garden, overlooking Puget Sound. Madison arrived early, wearing a simple lavender dress, her heart hammering in her chest. She didn't know what she expected to feel when she saw Ethan. Anger? Sadness? Longing? But when he walked down the aisle in his tuxedo, standing at the altar waiting for his bride, what Madison felt was peace. He looked good, healthy, happy. The haunted look she'd seen in his eyes the last time they'd met was gone, replaced by something serene. Then Rachel appeared, walking down the aisle in a simple white dress, her face radiant. She was beautiful, petite, with auburn hair and a warm smile. When she reached Ethan, the way he looked at her made Madison's breath catch. He'd never looked at Madison quite like that, with such uncomplicated joy, such pure love. The ceremony was simple and heartfelt. They wrote their own vows. Rachel, Ethan said, his voice thick with emotion, you saw me at my worst and chose to love me anyway. You knew my mistakes, my failures, my darkest moments, and you didn't run. You taught me that I could be better, that I could choose who I wanted to be, regardless of who I'd been. I promise to spend the rest of my life being worthy of that faith you had in me. Rachel's vows were equally moving, speaking of forgiveness and second chances and building something new from broken pieces. When they kissed, the whole garden erupted in applause. At the reception, Madison kept to herself, sitting at a table with strangers and watching Ethan and Rachel dance, laugh, celebrate. She was about to leave early when a hand touched her shoulder. Madison. She turned. Ethan stood there, Rachel at his side. You came, he said, his voice full of wonder. I didn't think you actually would. Neither did I, honestly. I'm so glad you did. He gestured to Rachel. Madison, this is my wife. Rachel, this is Madison. I know. Rachel extended her hand. Thank you for coming. And thank you for, she glanced at Ethan, for helping him become the man I married. It was a strange thing to say, but Madison understood. You're welcome. And congratulations. You two seem really happy. We are. Rachel squeezed Ethan's hand. I'll give you two a moment to talk. When she'd walked away, Ethan sat down next to Madison. I never thought I'd see you again. Me neither. But I realized I needed this. Needed to see that you're okay. I am. Finally. And you? Are you okay? Yeah, I am. I'm dating someone. A therapist named Alex. He's really good for me. I'm glad. Ethan smiled. You deserve someone who's good for you. They sat in silence for a moment, watching the other guests dance and celebrate. I'm sorry, Ethan said quietly. I know I've said it before, but I need to say it again. I'm sorry for what I did, for hurting you. I know, Madison interrupted gently, and I forgive you. Ethan's eyes widened. You do? Yeah, I do. It took a long time and a lot of therapy, but I finally realized that holding on to anger was only hurting me. You made terrible choices, but you've worked to become better. You faced what you did and tried to make amends. That takes courage. Thank you, he said, his voice breaking. That means more than you know. Just promise me something. Anything. Be happy. Build a good life with Rachel. Don't let what happened between us haunt you forever. I promise. Same to you. Deal. Madison left the reception feeling lighter than she had in years. The chapter was finally truly closed. Not with drama or anger, but with forgiveness and hope for both their futures. Full circle. 2 years later, Madison stood in front of the same mirror where she'd gotten ready for the hospital gala, adjusting a different kind of dress. White lace. With a veil. You ready? Lily asked, her maid of honor dress a soft sage green. Yeah, I really am. The ceremony was small, just close family and friends, at a vineyard in Napa Valley. Caroline had helped plan everything. Her painters, I making the whole event a work of art. Madison walked down the aisle toward Alex, who was crying openly at the sight of her. Her father gave her away, and Tommy stood as Alex's best man, having bonded with him over their shared love of baseball and terrible jokes. I'm Madison Rivers, she said, her voice steady. Promise to love you honestly. To build a life with you based on truth and trust and genuine partnership. To show up, be present, and choose you every day. Not because it's easy, but because you're worth it. Alex's vows were equally heartfelt, promising to always be transparent, to cherish her, to build a family with her. When they kissed, Madison felt something she hadn't felt in years. Certainty. At the reception, as she danced with her new husband, Madison caught sight of her mother talking with her father, both of them civil now, maybe even friendly, having learned to co-parent even though their children were adults. She saw Tommy dancing with Lily, who'd finally admitted her crush on Madison's brother after years of denial. She saw her patients, the ones who'd recovered enough to attend, celebrating with her. And in her pocket, carefully folded, was a card that had arrived yesterday. Congratulations on your wedding. Wishing you all the happiness in the world. Ethan, Rachel, and baby Emma. They'd had a baby, named her Emma. Madison had sent baby gifts and a card when Rachel had posted the news on social media, maintaining a friendly but distant relationship. It was proof that people could heal, that mistakes didn't have to define you, that you could hurt each other terribly and still manage to wish each other well. What are you thinking about? Alex asked, pulling her closer. How far I've come. How lucky I am. I'm the lucky one. We both are. And for the first time in years, Madison fully believed it. The girl who'd been shattered by betrayal, who'd fallen in love with the wrong person for the worst reasons, who'd had to rebuild herself from the ground up, she was gone. In her place was a woman who knew her worth, who'd learned to protect her heart without closing it off, who understood that love required both vulnerability and wisdom. Madison Rivers Thornton had survived her worst nightmare and come out stronger. She'd learned that sometimes love did conquer all, but not in the way she'd once thought. Not romantic love, necessarily, but self-love, the love of family who showed up even when things got messy, the love of friends who held you together when you were falling apart, and eventually, the kind of romantic love built on honesty and respect and genuine partnership. As she danced with Alex under the stars, Madison silently thanked Ethan, not for the pain, but for the lessons, for teaching her what she didn't want, what she wouldn't accept, what she deserved, and most importantly, for teaching her that she could survive anything, that she was stronger than she'd ever known. The song ended. Alex spun her one more time, and Madison threw her head back and laughed, the sound pure joy. She'd made it through. She'd survived. She'd thrived. And this life she was building with Alex, this future full of possibility, this was real. This was her happy ending. Conclusion. Love stories aren't always simple. They're not always pure or straightforward or tied up with neat bows. Sometimes they're messy. Sometimes they're painful. Sometimes they teach us lessons we never wanted to learn. Madison Rivers learned that the heart is remarkably resilient, that forgiveness isn't about condoning what someone did, but about freeing yourself from the weight of anger, that you can love someone deeply and still walk away when that love becomes toxic. Ethan Rivers learned that redemption is possible, but it requires honest work, that you can't undo your mistakes, but you can choose to be better, that some relationships are meant to teach us, not last forever. Their story wasn't a typical romance. It was twisted and complicated and filled with betrayal, but it was also real, a testament to human complexity, to the ways we hurt each other and heal ourselves, to the possibility of finding peace even after the worst kind of heartbreak. They both found happiness, just not with each other. And sometimes, that's the most honest kind of happy ending there is. Act Like You Love Me wasn't just a title, it was a lesson. about the difference between performance and authenticity, about the danger of loving someone's potential instead of their reality, about the importance of building relationships on truth, no matter how uncomfortable that truth might be. Madison got her happy ending. So did Ethan. They just got it separately, learning that sometimes the greatest love story is the one you have with yourself, choosing to heal, to grow, to become someone worthy of the love you seek. In the end, that's what mattered most. Not the passion or the romance or the fairy tale, but the courage to love honestly, to forgive genuinely, to move forward bravely, and to never, ever settle for anything less than real.